Color is a powerful narrative instrument that can help creators in every field convey meaning through their work. When applying it accordingly, color can serve to communicate details about background, intention, style, and many other aspects of a given story to audiences. For instance, the use of red tones can serve to depict aggressivity, rage, and power. Different blue tones can inspire a sense of calmness and simplicity, and the use of whites and different tones of gray can drive a sense of isolation, silence, and serenity. And the list goes on. Street Fighter games have been notorious for using a vivid color palette to depict their universe and characters. Since the franchise beginnings, color has been used as an important storytelling device, not only in scenarios but most importantly in the character and outfit design. Ryu and Ken Masters are possibly the two most prominent characters of the Street Fighter franchise. Both of them hold a profound and significant bond with the practice of fighting and martial arts. Both have a separate set of motivations defined by their respective origins, personalities, and aspirations, and are carefully depicted through composition and color to bring them to life in the universe of Street Fighter. It's crucial that players become aware of character personality in order to be more in touch with the fighting technique and incitements of the character. Because most of players won't be investing lots of time researching the particular details of characters, game developers made use of color and visual design as narrative tools to provide players with a compelling deconstruction of personalities and backgrounds. This way, if you start playing a Street Fighter game today, it will only take a quick look for you to understand the overall traits of a given character. Ryu was orphaned at a very young age and left with no memories about his parents. He was found and adopted by Gouken, a martial arts trainer who raised and trained him. Gouken also accepted to train his best friend's 12-year-old son, Ken Master. Ken's father, a rich hotel owner, decided to send his son to train under Gouken, fearing that otherwise he will become spoiled and unable to make a living on his own. We can derive information about both Ryu's and Ken's beginning stories by reflecting onto the basic colors of their respective gis. The faded whites of Ryu's torn and worn-out gi reflect his humble and simple beginnings, and the vivid reds of Ken's more well-kept gi imply origins of wealth and power. At first, Ken showed hesitation about learning martial arts, but ultimately him and Ryu became great apprentices and practitioners of martial arts. Both will go on to maintain a relationship of brotherhood and healthy rivalry after they leave their master to fight in numerous tournaments around the world. Ryu will travel the world seeking a deeper understanding of himself and martial arts, and Ken will go back to America to continue practicing martial arts and start a family. The rivalry we mentioned between Ken and Ryu can be observed in the major colors used for their outfits and hair. Darker hair and white gi for Ryu and light blonde hair and red gi for Ken, making for a great visual contrast with each other. The personality of both characters is tremendously different, even though they grew up together and ended up considering themselves like brothers. In the Street Fighter games, Ryu is characterized as being silent, humble, and respectful, traits that are represented by the white color of his gi. He wanders the world with a desire to gain complete mastery of his martial arts and find the meaning of his powers, and takes both his travels and training very seriously. Those are the core elements from which he derives his non-materialistic tight happiness, represented through the purity, simplicity, and cleanliness that the clear and pale tones of his outfit evoke in most cultures. His drive to seek personal improvement also fuels a different side of his personality that drives him towards succeeding and becoming the best at any cost. This ferocious tendency to improve is fueled by, and can sometimes awake, Ryu's dark ki energy, also known as Satsui no Hado or Dark Hado, a form of ki that is rooted in the darker aspects of the natural human instinct that guides Ryu to fight, even if it is at the expense of his opponent's life. Ryu constantly fights to suppress this dark energy, to avoid harming others, but at times, when his inner darkness threatens to overcome his humanity, Ryu is left with no other option but to rely on his friends to contain him. If we take a look at Ryu's red gloves, there we can find a depiction of this sense of Satsui no Hado or dark energy, since red can be used to represent feelings of anger, aggression, power, and violence. However, the color red is also used to represent love and strength, and that can also be found in Ryu's headband, given to him by his best friend Ken Masters. The headband represents that strong tie Ryu holds with his dearest friend. Contrary to some of the characteristics that define Ryu, Ken is represented as a more alpha-like male with airs of grandiosity. However, despite being brash, egotistical, and arrogant at times, Ken's inspiration do not differ that much from those of Ryu, in the fact that Ken is also driven by a pure and disciplined essence. Like Ryu's, Ken's gi is used to represent some of the core characteristics of his personality. Ken's red color gi transmits traits like excitement, energy, strength, and it is used to intimidate his opponents in battle. The red of Ken's gi and the reddish brown of his gloves also represent courage and the passion and love he has for his family and home, which is the only thing that he ever considers about fighting. Ken never backs down from a fight, no matter how challenging it might be. He gives the utmost respect to his opponents, regardless of the discipline and means they follow. These later traits are represented by the darker tones of his brown gloves and black belt, which enhance the sense of endurance, stability, elegance, and respect. The combat techniques of both characters are rooted in the same principles taught by their master Gogen, who vowed to teach a less violent variation of the art taught to him by his master Gotetsu. As Ken and Ryu developed their skills, they also created unique methodologies that are representative of the personal approach they exhibit when fighting. Ryu concentrated on perfectioning his technique, and he has a slightly slow and straightforward style that aims to generate additional damage with single strikes rather than using chain attacks. This concept of condensation of power can be observed in the fact that his gloves are of a fairly distinguishable color with respect to the rest of his outfit. The red tones highlight the concentration of power that Ryu creates with every single hit. At the same time, the clearness of his gi shows the calm judo-like manner in which he executes these attacks. Ryu also focuses more on a Hado principle approach or ki energy approach to his combat techniques. He possesses the most energy concentrated Hadouken fireball amongst all Ansatsuken users, and his Shoryuken and spinning kick possess a high concentrated single hit power. Again, the color of Ryu's gloves and the large exposure of his bare feet both create an intense contrast that accentuates the power both his fists and feet pack to execute his single strike focused combat. Ken's fighting approach takes more speedily jujitsu-like perspective, based on combination of quick strides, differing this way from Ryu's interpretation of Goken's teachings. Ken's bright red outfit represents this concept of fiery swiftness perfectly and sets the psychological expectations of players to anticipate the appropriate fast-paced fighting style. Ken's main special move is a multi-hit flaming Shoryuken that deviates from the single-hit concentrated one that Ryu executes. This movement is at the core of Ken's high-paced combat system and merges fittingly with his quick version of the spinning kick that can hit up to 5 times and with his weaker but faster version of the Hadouken fireball. All these moves define a vibrant, aggressive, and speedy combat that characterizes Ken, represents his personality, and aligns with the bright red, yellow, orange color scheme given to his characteristic representation. We can observe that most of the details of Ryu's and Ken's design and outfit color choices were not picked lightly. Every element that constitutes a part of their construction and coloring was selected to communicate details farther beyond a basic aesthetic value. The importance of color and the tremendous amount of packed information that can be derived through carefully designed arrangements of it is remarkable. Characteristics, tendencies, effects are just a subset of the extensive amount of elements that can be told through compositions and the use of the color alone in video games and other forms of pictorial depiction. But it surely works well and points us in the right direction to help us choose characters that fit our game style and obtain a more rewarding and redeeming experience when we choose to play games like Street Fighter. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did so, please hit the like button. It does help a lot. It does help a lot that you're watching already. I hope you guys enjoy and you subscribe to come back when I make new content. For those of you who are there on a regular basis, I can't thank you enough for that. And for all of you, I hope to see you in the next episode of the Chuck Files. Have a good day.